Do you read the Bible, Brett? Welcome back, folks. Hope you're all grand. This is episode 23. That's right. You know the one. Yes, it's the one and only UK Outpost 31, the film review. That's right. And I hope you've all been brilliant. And this is it. I'm your host. You know me, Mr. Dan. Nostalgia. Yes, there you go. And today's film is The Omen, released on the 6th of June 1976 in the UK and the 25th of June 1976 in the United States. Directed by Richard Donner, written by David Seltzer, starring Gregory Peck, Lee Remack, David Warner and Billy Whitelaw. Music by Jerry Goldsmith. Distributed by 20th Century Fox. Box office $60.9 million from a $2.8 million budget. Plot: Robert Thorne and his wife, Kathy, reside in Rome when Robert is persuaded to adopt a child whose mother died through childbirth, naming him Damien. Half a decade later, crossing the channel to the UK, when strange events happen to be occurring around the Thorne family, especially young Damien. Soon Robert is informed about Damien's biological parentage, uncovering a biblical nightmare, apocalyptic hell. The idea, the concept, presented around the prophecy of the Antichrist, came about discussing the Bible, soon telling a screenplay writer, David Seltzer, about the insight, and began penning the idea, the concept being a hot topic with Robert Munger. An advertising executive speculated to Harvey Bernard about the Antichrist being a human and being on Earth today. The idea that birthed the film that was soon to be. Warner Brothers did have first dibs at Seltzer's script until 20th Century Fox intercepted on the idea and soon moved in and soon got themselves the rights to the picture. Donner's idea consisted of an ambiguous approach about Damien's character and again as his origin, but Seltzer wanted the audience to be certain about Damien being the son of Satan and clearly responsible, as where Donner wanted to go for the mysterious approach which made you wonder who Damien was, and revealing such things at a certain point would have been better. Filming production time was wrapped up within 11 weeks. Scenes for churches were located in Fulham and Surrey, generally shot in London, Jerusalem and Rome, being the choice locations with the principal photography on the 6th of October 1976. Peck was the first choice, though his agent gaining a connection aided his path to get involved, and liking the project helped more. He liked the psychological thriller premise than the violent horror gore aspect, which should appeal to certain actors at the time. The psychological thriller, you had the Roman Polanski type feel that give it that aura. Claims about the Thorne role were huge. Actors such as Roy Scheider, Dick Van Dyke and Charles Bronson were all linked with this. And I mean, you know Roy from Jaws, and I think he had his French Connection days, and then he had Jaws, so I don't think this would have been for him. I'm still trying to picture Dick Van Dyke. He said no due to the blood and gore that the report suggests. I can imagine Dick Van Dyke playing Thorne and trying to sing Hushabye Mountain to Damien. That shit ain't gonna work. This ain't Jeremy and Jemima. Yeah, that'd be interesting. The Omen crossing over with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Try and get a musical out of that one. I've got you too. Including Mrs. Baylock. Anyway, and then you got Charles Bronson. Then, if you go on, it'd be like a Death Wish mission knowing him, revolver in one hand, so if someone tells him that's the son of the devil, he's got no problems putting holes in anyone.
But this would have been interesting if they had given the role to another actor. You know, this little comedic laugh. But it would have been good. I would have liked to have seen some of these changes and seen how they would have done it. Charles Heston said no to the sequel, surprisingly, mainly down to travelling and didn't want to spend a lot of time in Europe in winter. So his personal preferences. It's a shame, really, because after you'd seen him in Soylent Green and Planet of the Apes and Omega Man, this could have been another big name under his belt. So I would have liked to have seen it. The Omen being released in an era at the time where they had Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist, reflecting on the Antichrist concept. There is wisdom. Let him that thou understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of the man, and his number is 666. Book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 18. A reflection of the zeitgeist throughout America in the 1970s. And maybe this was the concept. The theme, composed by Jerry Goldsmith, Ave Santini, landed him an Oscar. A heavy choral orchestra with a Latin chant carrying an atmospheric tone. Not all of the Latin makes sense. Some has been translated in it. It is some errors in it, but I think it was just putting it to either not be so bang on the nail, or maybe just the tone worked, and that was what Donner and Seltzer were looking for. The Devil's Platform, being a comparison to the Omen trilogy, rolled into one sitting, really. I'd never seen it, but reading about this, they said that this whole episode was just one trilogy in one episode. As when you actually watch the trilogy, it drags out. I mean, the second and the third didn't help as much or impact as much as the first one. A 25th anniversary version of the soundtrack was released in 2001. For the fans, I still want to get a copy myself, because I think the music is a masterpiece, and it stands up there amongst some of the biggest film scores of all time, such as The Godfather and so forth, and Space Odyssey. The successful marketing campaign was the key. Jaws, prior by 1 year, had a lot of promotion and marketing before the film's release. So The Omen got the same treatment. So when they pushed this out, and you think of the amount of people who went to church, the film goers, the general audience, they were all interested. I mean, I've been young enough to have been around to watch these sort of things. I could have been around to see them at the time. It would have caught me at the cinema straight away. This time, Carrie and these sort of films, The Exorcist, you would have seen me there. You would have seen me there. But this was big. This was big because the promotion after this, all big films started to get that treatment due to its connections, who was involved, how big was the film, who was involved with the script, who was directing, who was starring. There was a lot that was gained from the idea of promotion and marketing on certain films. Critics haggled this on its release for multiple reasons, due to some finding it silly, some calling it ridiculous, and the feedbacks in terms of positivity related to the film's theme and soundtrack, even certain performances from Peck. The film's ranking amongst the best horrors of all time, and featuring in an all-time list connected to some of the biggest and most classic films of all time. So this really stands out in such a way. It's big. It might not have been loved at the time by certain people, and here we are years later, and guess what? We're still loving it. Still loving it. Winning 4 awards for Best Actor, Actress, cinematography, and original score, as we'd spoke on, kicking ass and taking names. This, Jaws and Silence of the Lambs being only of a few of what horrors had achieved and being able to win awards. There hadn't been many. I mean, there had been many films that had following. But this, amongst, as the names I said, were those that were praised even more. So, don't be too quick to judge a book by its cover, because you never know when that cover could turn around and reveal itself to you and show you something that you've never seen before. Amazement. Many releases over the years and sequels. Lance Henriksen featured in the first sequel when Damien was a teenager. And I didn't really click on, I couldn't connect to that as much. I thought it was a poor attempt, to be honest with you. I don't know because of, maybe I lacked a few names, but I thought I just lacked the plot in general. That's my opinion. I think it just lacked the plot. The second one. Then the Sam Neill in the second sequel, The Final Conflict, which I didn't mind. It was closer to the original. It was closer to Donna and Seltzer's take, but it still wasn't quite on the nail for me. But it was better in the second one. So you can't have it both ways. The first one was amazing. Second one disappointed me. Third one pulled me back closer to the first one, but the second one should have been doing that to start with, and the third one should have had it teed up for a big finish. That's how I would have set it up. The remake in 1991 was released with the young girl as the antagonist role, Delia, I can't remember the name, 100%. It was the exact same story through and through. They just copied the Omen, swapped the boy for a girl, and gave it the same story. Nothing changes. Then in 2006, they repeated the original with a few minor tweaks. They gave us the same thing with Eli Schreiber and Julia Stiles in the main roles as Thorne and Caffey, as Robert Caffey, and still, I liked Schreiber. I thought he's a good actor. Okay? I remember watching him. He was the best part I thought I've seen was in Scream, and when I first seen him, this guy. But he disappointed me in this. I know it's not his fault. He didn't write the script. He didn't push for it to be made. He was just offered the role. But it disappointed me. And it just could have been different. Considering it was a new era, could have given us something else. But this is at the time when the remix was in. Everyone was loving the remix. And to be honest with you, the only best one that came out of it was Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. It's clearly. And the only ones who got careers out from there was James Gunn and Zack Snyder. Who we know today. The Omen TV show in 1995 was launched and was poorly received on its pilot before the season even got to kick off. So no one even knew about it. And I was quickly swept under the carpet and forgotten about. But in 2016 the idea was rethought of, and there was an episode and season made titled Damien, which I didn't watch the 95 version because obviously we never got to know about that. And the 2016, I didn't like the 2006, so it's going to be a hard sell. That's what I'm going to tell you. For me, it's going to be a hard sell because the original, it should have been left at that. These sequels and follows on, it's totally unnecessary. It's a cash grab, and it didn't need to be told. Could have told it in a novel form, which Seltzer did. I think they should have just left it at that. Told the sequels in a novel form, not bothered making them individuals. Overall review. The concept of the Antichrist is one of Hollywood's weirdest and yet one of the rarest films that allows the villains to win the fight. Pushing the idea of the devil's son living to see another day. The characters like Mrs. Baylock is one of the personas that make the Omen shine brighter. You know, similar to The Shining or Rosemary's Baby, there's certain characters that work around the main characters, and that works. The wild viciousness of the hellhound is amazing. I love the dog. You just want to go up and smooth it, as long as I don't rip your arm off. The score, along with the death scenes throughout the film, add a gothic supernatural element. Only a few films bring. You know, you think of The Exorcist, or you think of Rosemary's Baby, you think of Carrie, you think of something in that ballpark, or even The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Even that, as a modern day as it gets, it's still decent, and even then, still works around that supernatural element. I mean, it's more done in the later times as it's done today. Like, you've got Paranormal Entity, you have Get Out, you have Us, and you have many other films that dabble around this paranormal entity, this void, supernatural. It's there. Donna can pull off any genre of film. You give him a script to anything and he could make it a big film. Having been involved in many big films with big actors, and he still delivers. But his vision of having Damien look less villainous to the audience would have definitely added more mystery about the child, his parents, and when the truth was revealed. It would have been a shock to the system. And when you think this man was responsible for, like, Superman, Lethal Weapon, Goonies, Lost Boys, you know what I mean? He's been involved in some big stuff. And yeah, I would love to have seen his vision. I'd love to have seen his vision. And I'm going to give this film a rating of 4 out of 5. But there's one thing I had forgotten to mention earlier, which I'd normally give you, and I've got to mention it now. It's a provocative notion. The church, or certain sectors of the church, knew of Damien's background. Now, in the second and third, there was reveals of a secret society that sort of supposedly looked after humanity. But if they knew that the son of the devil was born and was being handed over to someone in politics, why wasn't something done about this then? Why was he handed off to the child? To the Robert. Why wasn't there an authority to intervene? If they knew that they were dealing with the Antichrist, to me it just comes across as a loophole in some way. I'm not trying to find fault with this, but I'm just trying to find where does the common sense come in? If you possibly think that there's the son of the devil. And I'm not saying you commit murder. I'd never condone murder in general. Doesn't matter. But when you're talking about something on a biblical level, and you have crucial information, and you could get access to this person, something should have been done before Robert Thorne was going to do something. And that's all I gotta say. I thought that these people, this secret society that supposedly was part of the church, and they tried to have an attempt on him in the coming along into the third one, when they tried to hunt him down, when he was fox and hound hunting, and they failed. They tried to come at him when he was a man, more in control of himself, and that's like I said, don't kill a child, but at the same time, it's a complex scenario. I'm not saying I could give you the answer, so I'm not even going to sit here and try and tell you that, but it's complex. That's all I can tell you. It's one that would work with and against your morals as a human being. So that's my provocative notion on that. Could you kill a child? knowing that child is the son of Satan? That's a question I think everyone could ask themselves, could they go through with it? That's another thing altogether. So, going to get into my last segment of the day. What have you been watching? Tell you what I've been watching. I did watch a history of horror on YouTube. I'll forward the link on YouTube to watch. It's a 2.5 hour interesting, just a complete history of horror. And yeah, I loved it. To me, we sat through it all, and we got the gist of it, from The Devil's Place down right through to Boris Karloff, right down to Hammer House, to Giorgio Romero, to Roman Polanski, down to the 70s, down to the nasties of the 80s, the videotape nasties, and classics up to the 90s, and then right into the 2000s, the remakes, and then starting getting to your Jordan Peele and Eli Roth era. Absolutely amazing. I gotta give a shout out to that guy. I can't remember his name at the moment, but when we do the editing, I'm gonna put your name on the screen. You need to see this. Big shout out to you. You made my day. You made my day on that one. That was amazing. And yeah, the other thing I was watching, well, the other one I was loving was Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo and the late Bill Paxton. That's an amazing film. I remember catching that on the Netflix, and it was like the Velvet Buzz, or the Velvet, the horror. It was more like the Christine in a museum, and the Nightcrawler. It was absolutely amazing. I watched that a couple of times on Netflix, and then obviously the one day I was looking online, looked at online shop, especially when it comes to films and everything nostalgic. Spotted the Nightcrawler, brought that sucker, and I own it. And that is one of the masterpieces that I do like. He's got a narcissistic opinion. He's a narcissism throughout, isn't he? And he's a con, and it's one of them. When he talks, he knows what he's talking about to a degree, but you can see he's also speculating. So we kind of like, at the same time, it's too thick to be toilet paper and too thin to be curtains. But he talks a good game. But I did love that film. That was one of the modern day films, that and The Void and Wolf of Wall Street, probably, that got my attention. And now I own all three on physical media, and that's another story for a classic day. But if this is your first time listening to the podcast, I seriously hope you enjoy. I got 22 other episodes we've dropped before this. We're always looking to improve. We're always looking to move on the up. And this is all about growth. Okay, so this has been amazing. I hope you hit like. I hope you got the subscribe button ticked. I hope you get notified. I hope you're loving this. I hope you're liking. I hope it's telling your friends. I'm just hoping you just living your best life. And I want to be there when that happens. So, I'm going to wish you the best week you can have, the best day, and everything falls for you. Look after yourself and everyone around you. I will. My name is Dan Nostalgia. This is UK Outpost 31.